Well, I just finished a degree in music in Wellington, and I wanted to go overseas to study classical guitar. So I had been studying classical guitar, but I needed, at that point there was nobody able to teach at the higher levels. So I just hit the most obvious place, which was London, and picked out a teacher and studied privately there. And it was during that period that I discovered an interest in earlier music, so music of the 16th century. And the instrument that was current in those days, the equivalent of the guitar, I guess, you could think of the lute. So I became interested in that and started to have lessons in that as well. Well, I started off playing the clubs, play the classical music clubs, and then the folk clubs as well. So I toured around Britain a fair bit doing those lower level jobs, and then eventually got a few higher level jobs, where people actually pay you to play. That's pretty good. Eventually also I joined a band of 4 guitars, and we were called the London Guitar Quartet. So we performed throughout the UK and a little bit in Europe as well. I came back to New Zealand to just do a short course on the classical guitar, a summer course. And
to teach it or to...
To teach it, a summer, 3-week course. And I just never went back. And then from there I wanted to follow the early music interest, so I did a 1-year postgraduate course or postgraduate degree at Otago, because there was a person there, Professor John Steele, who was well known for his research into early music. So I did 1 year study with him, and I got a scholarship from that to do a PhD. So it was never an intention. I accidentally became an academic, but I enjoyed it so much I just carried on from there. But when I did my PhD, I spent a year living in Rome, attached to Rome University. I had a scholarship to be there, but the work I was doing involved travelling to archives throughout Italy. So it was a terrible year, I just had to go to places like Venice, Florence, Naples, and I started off actually in the archives in the Vatican. So that was a good start to my archival work. And I've gone back to Italy, I suppose, every 3 or 4 years. So yeah, it's something I need to keep doing. Well, I definitely want to keep my research going, and so the area that I work in is music history. So I'm an historian, really, with an interest in musical area. So, and the actual period that I'm working in is late Renaissance, early Baroque, so 16th and 17th centuries. And one thing I've been working on recently is digging out of the archives old operas that actually have never been brought to light since the beginning of the 17th century, when they were first written. So these are the very, very first operas that were written for the courts of Mantua and Florence, the Medici court, and so on. So I just recently had sent to me from my publisher in the States this book that I produced in one of the early operas from 1628. So that kind of work I want to carry on doing. I'm also writing a book on New Zealand women composers, so that's another thing to complete. And recently I wrote a textbook which is going to be produced as an e-book, and that's being published by Macquarie University. So those kinds of things I'm very interested in, and will definitely keep going. I think it's really important in this kind of leadership role to be able to do the thing that you're expecting other people to do. And it's an interest of mine anyway, a passionate interest. So, but I think it's really important to ensure that you have the leadership in terms of what you're actually doing yourself.